Today, I'm going to tell you guys all a story about how I think I may have manifested Satan on mushrooms. Hey, what's up guys? My name's Kyle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit that subscribe button below for more content. So today I'm going to tell you guys this crazy story of this mushroom experience I had where I'm pretty sure I may have manifested Satan, or at least I perceived it as Satan. So for this trip, I actually took about 3 to maybe 3.5 grams of albino penis envy, which is a pretty powerful strain of PSILOCYBE cubensis. And I kind of did kind of like the Terrence McKenna thing, in the dark, alone. And my whole intentions for this trip was honestly to just lay in my bed and close my eyes and just go inward for the whole experience. I ate, it was about a cluster of 3 or 4 of them, and there was a little tiny one at the bottom. And why I say that is because I'll explain why. So I had this mushroom trip a while ago. It was actually during Halloween time. Halloween's a really interesting time because if you know anything about Halloween, it's said that the veil between, physical reality and the spirit world is at the most thinnest. And that's kind of like what Halloween is about in a way, is interacting with like spirits. And I ate these mushrooms on Halloween, and so maybe that's why I was experiencing like Satan or like dark energies. And throughout this whole experience, I kind of was experiencing a whole yin and yang experience where I'd experience like super darkness and then super light bliss, and a trippiness started to come on. And at first it was really pretty, I just kind of had like geometric stuff. I started seeing like these little beings, kind of like this sacred language thing that Alex Gray talks about. Different, typical visuals you would see. And it was all just, nice, fluffy. And then I started seeing like these weird just images of people, or yeah, it was like almost like these weird creatures, and it was making me feel like weird. Like I didn't really, I guess, enjoy what I was seeing, the visuals, and I kept seeing it, and then I remember thinking like, what is this? Like, this is weird. Why am like, it was really nice and beautiful, and now I'm just seeing this kind of like weird faces morphing, and it's just like, honestly, to tell you the truth, like the word I thought of was just like, it looked dumb. Like I was like this, and I remember thinking that, like, I was like watching this and it's kind of like, okay, what is this? This is like dumb, like, and as soon as I said that, it was like the mushroom, like, it was like it was doing it on purpose, like taunting me in some way and for me to react to it, and I did. And then then all of a sudden I started getting these like waves of like negative energy, and like it was like the mushroom was like screaming, like it was like and it was like sending me these waves of like just like intensity and like weird vibes, and I'm sitting here like, what is going on, like what the fuck? And I hear this like yelling, and all I hear is this yelling, this person was screaming and yelling, and I'm just literally like, what is happening? This is so weird, and honestly, it just was getting really weird, and then I was actually feeling really uncomfortable for a second, and I kind of just I felt really out of place. I was kind of like, what's happening, like I'm just sitting here trying to enjoy this experience, and I'm just seeing these weird fucked up things and getting these weird vibes, and I felt like the mushrooms were yelling at me and screaming at me. And I was like, what did I do? I remember asking like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? And then it kind of like started letting off and getting back into more positive feelings, and started like, getting back into those old nice visuals of, just beauty and different. I was seeing like pop art, like, like a little kid's book, you open it up, and it was really strange. I've never seen anything like that. And it started getting like cool again, nice again. And when it started getting nice again, I remember asking the mushrooms, I was like, what was that about? You know what I mean? Like thinking about what I had just seen that was really weird and negative. I was like, what was that about? And I remember the mushrooms made a joke to me, and it was really hilarious at the time. It's kind of weird to tell somebody and talk to them, and you have the same reaction as I did. But during the experience, I was like, "What was that about?" You know? And they're like, "Oh, it was just that little mushroom. Don't worry about it." And I just started dying laughing because it was like just the funniest thing to me at the time. Like, I was literally just dying laughing. Like, it was just hilarious to me. It kind of just took me out of like those thoughts of like, you know, fear, or like what was that, and I just thought it was hilarious. And then the visuals and the feelings and the trip started getting like way more intense and beautiful, and it started really, you know, starting to feel like this bliss feeling. And I actually, a little backstory, I was actually completely sober for about over a month, 30 days to, you know, maybe a little longer before I had this experience, like completely sober, no alcohol, no weed, nothing. And I was actually, you know, just trying to be more sober. And so it was interesting because then I started getting these visuals of like a tree, and it was like the tree of life, and it was like this beautiful white glowing tree. And I understood that was like the tree of life, and I felt like I was Adam and Eve in a way, in like, you know, the story of in the Bible where, yeah, it was like I was Adam and Eve, and it was telling me that the mushrooms were the fruit. It was telling me the mushrooms were the forbidden fruit on the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And and it was like I was having this whole Adam and Eve experience. That's like literally what I felt like. And it was like from that point forward, it was like I saw the tree, and it told me that the fruit was the mushroom, and I ate the mushroom. And it's interesting because like you can relate sobriety to naivete in a way, or not ignorance, but like naivete. And so it was like I was naive in a way, and I ate this mushroom, and then it's kind of hard to explain all this, but and then then I went into this whole beautiful experience, like where I started seeing like the creation of the universe, like planets, galaxies, the earth, like nature, like all and I was perceiving this like white divine light energy that was like I understood was God, and it was feminine. It was like a feminine energy, and I understood it as a feminine being that was like flying with me through space, showing me all of space and all of the creation of the universe. And like this is the most amazing thing I've ever experienced ever. And it was crazy because then the mushrooms were telling me that I was a part of the universe. It was showing me all the galaxies and the stars, and it was telling me that I was a part of all of creation, that I was a part of the universe. And in a way, that means that I am God in a sense. Like, I'm not God, but I am of God and part of God. And it was telling me, like, I'm the universe, and it was telling me not to judge other people and not to judge myself because I'm judging God. And if I'm God, then other people are God, and we're all just, like, one consciousness. And it was telling me all these, like, deep spiritual truths, and it was so beautiful. And so another thing to mention is I could actually communicate to the mushrooms. It was like this being inside of me, and I can communicate to him because around in my eyes it was like, imagine, like, it looked like little fingers like all along the bottom ridge of my eyesight, my vision. It was like a bunch of them sticking up, and they would move, and they could vibrate, and I could like communicate to the mushrooms and asking them questions, and they would, you know, when they were more soft and smooth, it was like, yes, you're in harmony, like what you're asking is in alignment, what is happening is true. And then when I would start thinking negatively or asking questions I shouldn't, it would get more intense and go woo, and it was like disharmonious energy. And so it was really interesting. And so it was telling me about like yin and yang, you know, like positive energy and negative energy. And as soon as I like had experienced that, and it showed me all the creation of the universe. You know, I was crying. I was understanding this like deep spiritual truths. Like, I am a part of the universe. I am God in a sense. Not of I am of God, and everyone is, and we're all just one giant energy consciousness thing. And I started feeling that. I started understanding that like harmonious energy versus like disharmonious. And then I had asked the question, I was like, well, what is this disharmonious energy then? I was like, if this is God and this is like harmonious and love and the creation of the universe, I was like, then who is Satan? And then this is where it got really crazy, because as soon as I started saying like who is Satan, it was like it was in slow motion, and like I was like almost observing myself ask this question, and I was like, it was like slow motion. I was like, who is Satan? And then like as I'm asking this question, like the mushrooms in my eyes that I could see, it was like as soon as I started asking this question, they started vibrating really fast, and like they were like, no, 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 and started getting more intense. And I was like, who is Satan? I was like, and I was like, Satan. And then boom, right as I say Satan, my phone rings. And like as soon as I said Satan, my phone rings. And yeah, it really freaked me out. As soon as my phone rang, I just felt like all this like horrible negative energy or like feelings and vibrations just like hitting me, and I felt super like afraid, and it freaked me out, and I got up, opened my eyes, and I go and looked at my phone, and it was a number I didn't have in my phone, but it was like an area code of a state I had just recently left. And it's a really huge backstory to this, but it was like this negative energy was like making itself known to me, and in a sense it was like it rang, and I started getting afraid, and I stood up, I grabbed sage, and I just started saging like the whole room and like Palo Santoing, and then it was like I was battling this negative energy that was like attacking me or coming at me. And in my mind's eye, I perceived like this entity or energy or Satan or whatever as like this, it was like this aggressive, animalistic, like Sauron, like just like kill, death, destroy. Like it was just pure like evil, and it like found me, and it was like called me, and it was in my room, like its energy, and I was sitting there like battling it, and I'm sitting there praying, like saying like I am God, like, or like God is with me, I am God, God is with me, and I'm saging the shit out of the place. And I have cats, I don't know if you could, yeah, they're around somewhere, but I have cats, right? And I've heard that cats can see like spirits or beings that aren't, you know, there. Like if you ever notice cats like look around and they look at stuff that you can't even see, and you're like, what the fuck are they looking at? And it's because they're looking at spirits. And so like as soon as it started happening, as soon as my phone rang and I stayed up and I start saging the place, my cats are like looking up everywhere, like as if there's spirits everywhere, like everywhere in the room. And I'm like, it was fucking crazy. And it was like I was battling this like negative entity, and it rang once, and then, you know, some time had passed, and it rang again, and it was like the whole time then I'm just sitting there on my bed, and I'm kind of like waiting for this like energy to kind of subside. And I kind of think I know who was calling me, and it's this crazy like I don't even know if I should get into it, but it's this crazy like witch girl who does black magic, and yeah, super weird. Anyway, yeah, I think that's what it was, or who it was, but it was like the manifestation of evil, or like if it was a person, it was her, or if it was straight up just like the devil and this dark energy that I had been dealing with and fighting in my life for the last couple months. And so I feel weird talking about it as well, because I just simply don't want to like, you know, wake the beast in a way. But it was super weird, and then like the energy kind of subsided and everything kind of chilled out. And so yeah, after like the whole energy battle thing and everything subsided, it started getting more chilled and relaxed again, and I kind of just started feeling like more normal and having more positive feelings. it was interesting because then I kind of went back into closing my eyes for a little bit of time, and it was then telling me about how it's really important for you to think positively, and it's how it's really important for you to focus on the positive, the light, and the good that is in life and your life, and not focus on the darkness and evil, because in a way, me asking about it or thinking about it, it was like I drew that energy to myself. So it was like saying like how powerful your mind is, how powerful your thoughts are, and how it's important to think positively and focus on the good. And whether or not Satan exists or dark or like that, any of that, you know, is real, like it felt real and it was real to me. But like, you know, what's the word? I'm just trying to like say like that it's important to draw like positive energy to yourself with your positive thoughts and intentions. And so that's what it was trying to teach me as well. Maybe the universe was just trying to teach me that your thoughts do create your own reality, and so you have the power to be your own God in a sense in your own life and direct your life towards, you know, positive outcomes and intentions, or you can be your own devil in life and fuck everything up with your negative thoughts and ideas. There's this famous occult saying by Thoth the Atlantean that's as above, so below, and as within, so without. So if you think about that, it's like if you recognize that you have your own inner good and inner darkness within you, and that is a reality, then, you know, it's not that hard to believe that if it's within you, then why wouldn't it be projected outside of you? It is true, because then you go about your life and you experience good things in other people or situations, and then you experience negative things in other people and situations in life. So everything's like as within, so without. And if you have a darkness and a light within you, then, you know, who's to say there really isn't a good potential being outside of yourself and a dark potential being outside of yourself as well. You know, it's, who knows? And then for the rest of the trip, it got really nice again. It was just peaceful. And I actually then just had this experience where I was closing my eyes, and the rest of the trip was more like, got into like my relationships with other people, and just like healing different aspects of relationships with other people, friends, family. And another really cool thing that happened that I will mention is that I started thinking about my mother, and it was just like relationship things, you know, healing, whatever. And it was interesting because then it's like I saw her soul, like it was like a ball of light, and it was like the color of her soul. It was like this orb of light, glowing orb, and it was like, it was violet and purplish, reddish, violet-y color, and it was like that was the color of like her soul, like her aura, or whatever you want to call it. And then the same thing kind of happened with my brother, where I had thought about my brother, and same thing, like relationship healing things. And then I saw the color of his soul, and it was like a blue and a green kind of just mixed together. And yeah, it was really fucking cool. It was like I was literally looking at their souls, and it was far out. It was fucking nuts. And so yeah, trying to think what else happened. Yeah, the rest of the trip was pretty chill, just relationship things. It wasn't so crazy, but for the most part, the whole trip was really teaching me about like the yin and yang. And I felt like I had this whole Adam and Eve experience where I ate the fruit of knowledge, and then I was gaining the knowledge of good and evil. And it was fucking really trippy and crazy. And it's nuts because like I mean, I was born, like, raised a Christian, I guess, when I was younger, but I was never really into it, or never very, you know, religious in any way. And before this experience, you know, I hadn't even thought of anything Christian related in a really long time. So it was really bizarre and out of nowhere for me to even experience anything that related to Satan or Adam and Eve and this kind of things. So it's pretty out of nowhere experience, but it was really full of great knowledge and information. It was a really cool fucking experience. And just to point out, like, this kind of sounds like it was a bad trip or a bad experience, and it really wasn't. Though it was fucking really scary, and I did not expect to, meet the devil. It was still a really fucking crazy and amazing experience. Like, who the hell gets to experience that, like, far out craziness? And so I don't really believe in, like, bad trips. I just believe in, not so nice trips and maybe potentially scary trips, but still full of knowledge and wisdom and amazingness. So yeah, it was a great positive experience. Just fucking nuts. Yeah, I also wanted to mention that I actually started thinking about later in the trip, like, who Satan is, I guess, or right, if he's real, if it exists, like, what is it and what's its purpose, and what the dark energy's purpose is. And some people believe that, like, each individual person and soul and on earth has a mission in life to achieve, or purpose in life, right? Like, if you believe everybody has a purpose, everybody has, like, a mission that they're here on earth to accomplish and do, or just their soul in general, a lesson that they're supposed to experience and learn. And if you think about Satan in a way, if you think about, like, the traditional idea, let's say, there is this positive God energy created this negative energy, and you would probably think, why would there be so much evil and darkness in the world, right? Why would it be the purpose of that? And I kind of was thinking about this all and thinking that, maybe the purpose is that it's like it's created to darkness and the bad things that happen to you and in your life and negative experiences and all the darkness that you experience day to day and that's happening in the world, death, destruction, wars, chaos, all this shit that you would relate to dark energy or negative energy or Satan or whatever you want to call it. It's like the whole purpose of any of that is to bring you closer to the light, is to bring you closer to God or positive, like energy, and it teaches you about yourself. It teaches you about what is more like God and what is not like God. You know what I mean? So you can have that scale of, okay, this is negative. If you understand duality, then it's like, if you understand darkness, then you understand the light. You know what I mean? You understand what is more like God. What is positive? What is good and what is negative. And of course, as you, I feel like, evolve or consciously grow in consciousness, then, like, your perceptions of what is good expands, and your perception of what is negative also kind of expands, because something that once served you, that was positive in your life, can turn into a negative and become a hindrance in your life as you're consciously growing and becoming more spiritually evolved, and so, yeah, if you think about, like, people having, like, personal soul missions and journeys in life, it's like, if Satan had his soul mission is to be the anti-God, is to be chaos, destruction, and evil, and to be the most hated energy in the entire universe, right? Because nobody likes darkness, nobody likes negativity unless you're a psychopath. And so to be his, like, punishment or soul mission is to experience humility always, because his mission is to try to bring people into darkness and into death and darkness and destruction, right? But he always fails, because in doing so he always brings people closer to God, or closer to what's positive, what's more like God, so in a way he's serving God in just a roundabout weird way. And so in a way, it's like, if he was created as, right, like the Bible even says, that he was the most beautiful and the most powerful of all the angels that God created, right? And maybe there's a reason behind that, because he has the most intense spiritual lesson ever, is that he has to experience complete and utter humility and powerlessness, because maybe he's powerful for a time, but he always loses. And so in a way, and it's like, in him thinking that he's winning or destroying or yada yada, is actually just bringing people more into what is more of God? What is more like God? What is more ideal? You know, what qualities are more like God? So in a way, he's serving God in just a really bizarre, crazy way. Anyway, these are just thoughts. I'm not really Christian or anything. It's just philosophical thoughts about it, if Satan is real or whatever. I guess what I'm simply trying to say is that there is a purpose to, you know, darkness and the bad things that happen in life and in the world. And it doesn't have to be Satan. It's just simply darkness, you know what I mean? Dark, negative energy versus positive energy, the yin and yang duality that exists throughout all of creation and in everything. You know, in nature there's good trees and good trees that, you know, share its nutrients with other trees to help support life, and then there's trees that take more than it needs and stores it, and, you know, for later, and it ends up taking too much of the nutrients for other trees, and the other trees die. And so, like, the pattern of darkness and light is throughout all of nature and throughout all of the universe. And so, yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to just be Satan, but you know what I mean. Even in Hindu religions, they have the god Shiva, which is kind of the god of, like, chaos and destruction. But Shiva kind of teaches, he serves as creation through destruction. And so he's just, the negative energy is more like an archetypal energy, like Satan, Shiva, you know, is kind of like an archetypal darkness destroyer, chaotic energy, and it's a part of the universe in general, whether or not it's a real entity or just an archetypal energy that exists within the universe. Maybe the separation between a light and a dark entity isn't even real, and maybe, you know, both darkness and light are just simply two different sides of the coin of two different aspects of God or the universe in general. You know what I mean? So does Satan exist? Who knows? It could just be an aspect of God that people don't want to assume is God, right? Who knows? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you gained something cool out of it and you thought this was an interesting experience and interesting topic. I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are on mushrooms being the fruit of the forbidden fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, and what you think about that. And yeah, and if you've had any similar experiences with Satan or dark energies on mushrooms or psychedelics and things like that, I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, it's pretty weird, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Peace.